Hey everybody, it's Brad today, and I am here, at my house right now, and I was actually thinking about something. I haven't really done not many videos lately ever since I did my movie review for I Know Who Killed Me, which is a pretty good review that you gotta check it out. But we need to focus on something real quick. I'm going to want to talk about a question that's been sort of lingering in my head. Now, on the Razzie forum, when I talked about my top 10 guilty pleasures a while back, it was like, what, maybe 1 or 2 months ago, I talked about, movies that might not be the best, but they still have like redeeming qualities to them, or maybe they're just misunderstood, all that. And one of those movies, I totally feel it probably should have been my number one, but you know, I can't change it now. But one of the movies I talked about, I believe it was number five on my guilty pleasures list, was Alice in Wonderland. Which one am I talking about? I was mainly talking about the early cartoon 1950s one, the one that came, I think, a year after the Cinderella Disney film. But then also, I really do like, despite how many people hate on it, I really do like the Tim Burton version with Johnny Depp, Mia Bavoska. I can't pronounce the name. Helena Bonham Carter, Kristen Glover. You know, I really like that one too, and I really didn't understand all the hate it got. It has a 51% on Rotten Tomatoes, and well, the number seems right. Some people really love it, some people really hate it. Now the thing with this question that I have in my head when I was looking back on it, whether you're talking about the two movies or the original book written by Lewis Carroll, is Alice in Wonderland a masterpiece? And that is very debatable. I know right now you guys are probably gonna go down in the comments or something, or dislike the video or something when I even ask that question, because Alice in Wonderland, and I've always said this, it is genius, or at least to me, it is very genius because of all the hidden metaphors there are in it, whether we're talking about everyday life or some really big issue that goes on in our lives as we live them. Now, when you look at the book, Lewis Carroll actually has, twisted humor to it, and he does. There are double meanings. There are metaphors. Really, sometimes you have to like reread the book several times in order to get them. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a genius. I'm not saying I'm, you know, the smartest person, because I really do understand it. Because there are some things I still don't understand about Alice in Wonderland, and I've been it's one of the first Disney movies. When I remember looking back in my memory when Disney Channel was, the Disney Channel. There was no teeny bopper shit. But I remember back in the day when the Disney Channel would have these really old Disney movies, the Disney classics, like Peter Pan. Sometimes they would play, stuff like that. Like they wouldn't. I'm not sure if they would ever play Snow White. I thought maybe I saw it once on my point is they would show Alice in Wonderland from time to time, and I remember watching it at age 3, and how much I was so entranced by it, and how it was so different from the other ones. Because I think I had already seen Aladdin, I had already seen Beauty and the Beast at that time. I was like 3 or 4 years old. And and my mother never understood why I loved it so much. My dad never understood it, because it is weird. And I think that's the thing that pretty much attracts me to that story, is that it is so weird. And a lot of people complained about both the book and the original cartoon Disney film, was that there was no story. It was just random shit happening for no, that's actually Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Random shit happens in those movies. It's like somebody dropped acid or something. But when I looked, when I looked more into it, and I don't want to be this guy, and I've said this on the forum too. I don't want to be pretentious and say, "Oh, you just don't get it." I don't want to be like that guy, but I hate to say it. I really do. I hate myself for saying this, but not a lot of people get Alice in Wonderland. I think the main theme surrounding that story is the fact that it is a coming of age sort of story in a very twisted way. It's not told straightforward like, there isn't a cohesive story. I can give you that. It kind of goes all over the place, but there is a point to all of the madness and all of the illusions and hallucinations that Alice has. There is a point to it. And another thing about that story was that if you ever noticed, Alice keeps shrinking, growing. Do you get the metaphor now? She keeps shrinking and growing, and she doesn't know she's unbalanced. And that's what happens to us when we're going, especially our teen years and our preteen years. We don't know who to be or who we want to be or any of those things. We don't. And I think that part of it is very great and very just amazing. And of course, I think one of my favorite characters in the entire story is the Cheshire Cat, or the Cheshire Cat, whatever way you want to say it. The Cheshire Cat represents uh, Alice, Alice's way of reality. He keeps fading in and out. He keeps disappearing and reappearing, and that is the little bit of sanity that Alice has left, and it's very, very little that she has. With the Queen of Hearts, and the Queen of Hearts doesn't show up until like the end of the story almost, and this is Alice, it represents reality. The Queen of Hearts represents the cruel reality that we have every single day that we have. We might wanna, especially when we're kids, we might not want to deal with reality very much. If you remember, if you were 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, possibly 11 or 12, you wanted to get away from all the noise, whether it be your parents, your teachers, your classmates, your spoiled cousins or whatever. You wanted to get away from it all, and we all had that place, that quiet place, whether it be in music, whether it be in books, whether it be in movies, whether it be in video games. We all had that place that we could just go to and escape this cruel world. I'm not saying the world is, evil or anything like that, but life can be hard. That's what I'm trying to say. Life can be very hard, and I think that's what the story represents. And that's Alice had to get out of it though. That's what the Queen of Hearts represents, is her way back to reality. It's pretty much, whenever the Queen of Hearts says, off with her head, whenever she says that to anybody, whether it be Alice or her own part of the royal court, it's her wanting people to be in reality. Get rid of your imagination and deal with your real life. And Alice couldn't stay in Wonderland forever, or she would end up losing her head and losing all of herself if she didn't deal with life or reality or the way that things were. And I think that's very important to know. That I think a lot of people don't understand it because it's not, again, it's not straightforward. There is no real beginning, middle, or end. I mean, there is, but it's hard to explain, especially in this video. I'm already at 9 minutes, so I'll probably just wrap it up in a couple of minutes. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Tim Burton version that came out back in 2010, starring Johnny Depp, the Alice in Wonderland, and it based more on, I noticed, it kind of based a little bit more on Through the Looking Glass, which was the Alice in Wonderland sequel. But a lot of people, including one of my favorite reviewers, Doug Walker, aka the Nostalgia Critic, have said that, they tried to actually put a story into Alice in Wonderland, when really Alice in Wonderland, whether you're talking about the book or the Disney classic, didn't have one. It did. it did have a story, but I think Tim Burton and the screenwriters wanted everybody to actually get what was going on, and wanted to get that there was a cohesive beginning, middle, and end to it. A lot of diehard Alice in Wonderland fans don't like that version because it's not as crazy. It makes sense. To me, I didn't care. I thought it was a great film, and I know all film is subjective. I'm not calling you an idiot if you didn't like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But Yeah, I think it just seems like nobody can be pleased, especially, if you didn't like the original Alice in Wonderland, you probably wouldn't like the Tim Burton one. But it seems like nobody can be pleased, because they complained in the original that the the original Alice in Wonderland didn't have a story, but now that it actually has a story, they suddenly don't want one. Like it kind of doesn't make much sense, to me at least. But I want to, but the question still lingers: Is is Alice in Wonderland a masterpiece? Is Alice in Wonderland a genius story? Especially considering the fact that it makes you think. Yeah, it is, or at least in my opinion, just in my opinion, I think that Alice in Wonderland is a masterpiece because of all of the. I can go on and on all day about the hidden metaphors and the little hints and all of those things, all of the twisted humor and double meanings. I can go on forever, but I won't. Um, but I think the main reason why I think Alice in Wonderland is one of my favorite stories and always will be one of my favorite stories is that just like me and just like a lot of people who do love it, it's different, it stands out, it's very unique. You don't get a story like that every day. I think there have been people who have tried to imitate the Alice in Wonderland story before and have failed miserably. Sucker Punch being one of them. I heard a lot of people said Sucker Punch was kind of, you know, Alice-esque. I think it mainly I don't know. I've never really seen Sucker Punch, but I've heard a lot of people compare it to a twisted shotgun version of Alice in Wonderland. But um, yeah, or at least that's just my opinion. I want to know your opinion. Am I crazy? Am I just jumping the gun here, or do you agree? And do you think there is something different about that story of Alice and all of those things? So that's just my thing. Leave comments down below, and I might do another video review soon because I'm gonna do a couple of more written reviews on the forum. So stay tuned.